Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Pop YS Live. My name is Janae Jackson Doring. I am the Youth Services Consultant for the State Library of Iowa. We have very special guest today. We have Lisa Like, the Library Director of the Elgin Public Library. She is going to share her topic today, and it is called How a Bunch of Stressed Out Rural Librarians Came Together to Impact Third Grade Reading Scores. I had to read it off the screen, I'm sorry.
Long time.
It's a long title. So she has some wonderful information to share. She has a great presentation prepared for you today, and I'm interested. I love the Jennifer Garner, but you'll see what I mean. So I am going to turn off my mic and turn off my camera, and I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Janae. Thank you so much for having me. It's a really big honor to be here. Sorry, thank you. That has never happened to me before, people. So I'm sorry about that. I'm very honored to be here. I think the reason I am here is because Sam was attending another webinar that some of my other fellows were presenting in, and I was there, and my mentor Wendy was there, and Sam was in the room, and I thought, oh, somebody from the state library was in the room. And so that was so cool. And we talked a little bit about doing this presentation. The bunch of stressed out rural librarians are in a fellowship together, and I'm going to explain all about that. But I am Lisa Like. For those of you who don't know me, I've been around a long time, so I do think I know a lot of you. I am at the Elgin Public Library. I am what you would call a solo-ish librarian. I am only part-time there, which is kind of extra special. And so in my spare time, I am the founder of a little company called Read to Lead LLC, where I do tutoring, leadership training, and personal coaching. So you can check that out sometime. But today it's all about the library and all about youth services. So to begin with, I hope I didn't spoil my surprise here, just for fun, and Janae and Samantha will help me out with the chat maybe here. Just for fun, put in the chat like your favorite TV hero is kind of what I'm thinking of. It can be superhuman, but it doesn't have to be just somebody from TV that you really go, yeah, like it. And I'm going to put a little timer on here for you, and we'll go. And this is a hint to who mine is. All right, time's up. And if you hadn't guessed yet, this is mine. And what did you all have to say? Let's see if I can see.
A lot of traditional superheroes.
Remington Steele. Ooh.
Yeah. One Big Bird, which I really like. Batman, Iron Man, several Wonder Womans, which is excellent.
I love this one.
Batgirl.
Phyllis, Professor on Gilligan's Island. Yes.
Excellent.
That's amazing.
Oh, we already have one fellow Alias fan here for you.
Oh, and Scooby-Doo, another good one. Another good one. Oh, yes. I haven't ever watched that, but that looks a lot like Alias. I don't know if it is. But yes, so Alias, my favorite show of all time. Jennifer Garner, I just find her truly amazing in every way, not only for Alias, but a lot of other things that we're going to talk about her. And I just put that picture of her with Bradley Cooper on there because I think people just forget, you know, how he really got his start and became a superstar. And one of those ways was playing Sydney's best friend on Alias. So I don't know, she was just always a very big power character. I loved Michael Vartan, of course, too. And the whole thing. So this is how I put this in here for a reason, because this is how my whole fellowship experience began. And I'm going to try and switch slides here. So I was sitting in a semi-lockdown in the library. You guys know how it was. I am single librarian, so all by myself in the library space. had plenty to do. I did a full inventory of the library myself, beeping every material in there. You know, we were all scrambling for youth services things to do online with kids, and, you know, still very busy. However, I had a little more time to actually read my email and go through some things and look at webinars that might be educational. And I came across a webinar that said it was going to have Jennifer Garner in it. Like, she was going to be there in the live webinar. And I read, like, Save the Children. It's all about reading. Hey, this is something this looks cool. I bet Jennifer Garner's not really going to be there, but, you know, I'll go and take a look at it. It was only an hour. It was free, whatever. So I turned it on, and yes, Jennifer Garner was in there, and she actually chatted with me in the chat. I was such a fangirl that day. And here's a really awful picture of me and her on the screen. And it was the start of just a life-changing thing for me. So one of the things that Jennifer said was how wonderful libraries are and how magical librarians are. And so it was very gratifying. But then they also talked about some kind of scary things that we all need to work on. And they talked about the big why for this program that they were going to do. And this is just a quote from PBS that I found that pretty much encapsulates what that webinar that I watched that had Jennifer Garner, what it was all about. And it was about how when children learn language, how they do it. And if they don't do it by a certain time, and that time being the end of third grade, that it's bad news for them. Like graduation rates go down if that child was not proficient in reading. It was, while I knew that it's bad when kids struggle with reading, and that is something that children's librarians work on all the time, I don't know, once they put it together with this statistic, it just was really shocking to me. So this comes from the Nation's Report Card, which is the Annie Casey Foundation puts this out every few years. And I want you all to pay attention to the date on this slide, 2019. So this is a pre-pandemic number. They just came out with their new report, and they said it was just slightly worse, just a couple points down. I'm not sure. I never could find a percentage, but they said it was a couple points down, and I've advertised this all over my Facebook, so you can take a look there. But you know what, 35, and I put the 35% are proficient because I'm going to show you my example in a little bit of who are proficient for me now. But what that actually means is that this is also true, right? We do the math. I'm not very good at math, but I can do this math, and that means that 65% are not proficient. And that's a nationwide statistic. So this is what the Annie Casey Foundation says, that low achievement in reading has important long-term consequences in terms of individual earning potential. I had never really thought about that. Global competitiveness, okay, that's everybody, and general productivity. So that was very meaningful, even though I was, you know, fangirling all about Jennifer Garner. I looked at that and thought, oh, wow, you know, and are we scared? I was scared. That was scared. I'm still scared about it. And as youth services and library directors all over the place in little libraries, this is a statistic that it's not just true in inner cities. This is everywhere. So we should all be a little scared. And the other thing they did in this webinar that I watched with Jennifer Garner was they proposed of having a rural library fellowship full of small rural librarians who would work on this problem in their community. Because once you work on it in your community, that spreads and that spreads until hopefully we have a global community of proficient readers instead of unproficient readers. So the two partners in that webinar were Partners for Education, which is a group sponsored by Berea College in Kentucky. Nope, I had never heard of this place. And I have lived fairly close to Kentucky before and did not know about that college. And Save the Children, which is who Jennifer Garner is the spokesperson for. They do a lot of charity work. But Jennifer in particular is very interested in libraries, and because of the effect that they made on her life, and she wants to try and spread not only the love, but money to help us all achieve this goal of third grade reading. So what they said was you could apply to be a fellow. I did not even know what a fellow was. And in return, if you were accepted, then you would get some grant money to create this project. And it was yours, whatever project you wanted. They were not going to dictate to it. And I am a real applier, especially like if I have 5 minutes of time on my hand, I apply for grants, apply for lots of things. So I thought, what the heck, I'll apply. I got an interview with some very nice people. After the interview, I remember thinking to myself, my library is probably just too small. I'm not a good fit for them, even though we're the epitome of rural. I just didn't feel like it was a good fit, although I loved the people. But then I got accepted, and then you have to accept and sign the papers, and then you freak out a little bit because it's a year and a half of work to do a project when you're solo librarian, it's just one other project, like everything is a project. So I just had to tell myself, why not? It'll be great. Let's do it. And so this is what the fellowship practitioners at Berea College told us that it would look like, that we would develop and adopt strategies. We would have some peer partnering, mini review sessions in small groups, and we would have a coach who would work with us. We didn't really know what that was going to look like at all. But the thing that I really loved about this fellowship is that it is adapted to, which means it's changing all the time. And so their plan actually changed as well as everybody else's plan. But this is what it ended up looking like. We had twice monthly webinars that were just all over the board of learning. At first, we wondered what they really had to do with a reading project, but they build on each other, all kinds of training from self-care to your personality type to how to use the data, all kinds of things that you wouldn't think would tie together, but did. We also had monthly coaching sessions. My mentor's name was Wendy, and she was just fabulous at offering ideas, but also just talking. As you all recall, during this awful time in our lives, it was important to get that anxiety and stress out in some way, and she was just a fabulous resource for that as well, as were the other fellows. And I'll talk about that at the very end, how close we all got. It was just an amazing fellowship. And we all got to meet in Arizona. They put us up and paid for that. It was just a wonderful experience. And after that, we had to have our plan in place. We had to present it to the big wigs, as they say. They approved it, but it was more like they would look at it and help us work on it and make it work. So it wasn't like you're out of here if you don't do what we want. It was just about working together, which I also really liked. And then since I have started implementing my plan, we did 30, 60, and 90-day just check-ins so that they knew we were working on it and what was going on with it. And so what is this plan? They called it a results action plan. And they used a lot of acronyms that I had no idea what they were. And in fact, this was a group of 22 rural librarians. And after the first couple webinars we did, we were all just like, we don't know what you're talking about. You can't use this many acronyms. We are word people. We are librarians. Please give us the words and not the letters. And so they finally, this is what it boils down to, results action plan. I thought about that and I thought, well, I know what results are. I know how to take action and I know how to have a plan. Do I know how to put all three of those things together? Because as a solo librarian, action happens like this and you're working on 10 different things, and a plan may take 10 minutes or 3 days, depending on how much time you have. And so this was a very interesting putting together of those three things for me. It supports the planning and execution of work needed to achieve the result. So that, I think, was the new part for me. Like, what result? My result had always just been, we want high program numbers and we want circulation up. That was just always my goal. We want to serve the most people possible. So this was a little different than that. The plan was more strategic, based on factors. So that was different for me. Maybe not different for you all, but this is what we did. And it was, as it says, ever evolving, supports groups moving to aligned action and impact quickly, with continuous quality improvement, which also goes with ever evolving. I had to change, as I'll tell you, several things about my plan, and I had to let it go. And there was one girl in the fellowship that she had it all planned out and was actually going to implement it. And then her community partner, which happened to be laundromats, just backed out and said, no, we don't want to do this. And so she had to change her entire plan, which she did. And it was all fine because we are limber librarians and changing things. So it was all good. And these are the elements that they both taught us about and expected us to use in our results action plan. So you can see that there's population level accountability and performance accountability. So things we had to think about who we are going to serve and do this with, and how we are going to show what we did. So what they meant by population level result, which was a new term for me, was that what's my population? Well, my population, we have a consolidated North Fayette Valley School District. I primarily work at the Valley campus because it's closest to my library. There are many other libraries, like West Union has a wonderful library, and we have Claremont, Wadena, Oelwein, all kinds of libraries, 11 of us in Fayette County that all work together, mostly for the NFE consolidation. So my campus is Valley, and I have a very good relationship with that school. I've been at the library for 17 years, and I have implemented many things with the teachers there. And grades 2-3 are also consolidated, and so are grades 4-5 at Valley. So in this way, it made the blending together of grades 2-3 made this an exactly right fit, this project. So the indicator, which is just what are you going to look at to know that you have results. And I wanted to use Iowa tests because I thought that would be the best, but they don't take Iowa tests, 2nd and 3rd grade. So they had another test, which is called FastBridge. Now, every school is probably different in this area and all over the country. There were all different things used, but I used the FastBridge because it was most readily available. They take it the most, and the teachers know the percentages just like that. So we had a whole year of planning this thing before we would implement. So I took 2nd graders and used their scores because the next year when I would actually implement would be 3rd grade for them. So my 2nd graders at the end of 2nd grade were 39% proficient in reading, according to the FastBridge. And so there you go. That's pretty close to 35%. That was the national percentage. And there we are, Valley, same thing. So it could be the same in your area as well. Then here's what we want the target to be. So the target, we wanted everybody, of course, to be proficient. Then everybody said, well, you want to grow, don't want to be unrealistic about your growth. And so they had me kind of pare it down to 50%. Now, Valley is very small, and that's one thing I want all you small librarians out there to think about. Yes, there's only 30 kids in 3rd grade for me. And maybe if I increase scores in 3 kids, that's 11%. In a big school, it's going to take more kids to get to 11%, still 11%. And that's how you have to think about it. Like, is this project beneficial if 3 more kids are proficient in reading? To me, absolutely it is. And so I'm going to do it. I hope more than 3 will get there. But if it's 3, then I've met my goal, and I am going to feel good about that. And so should everybody. Then we have to have factor analysis. Factors are just things that exist. So we have positive factors and negative factors. You can glance through those. I feel and felt like I had a lot of positive factors going in. One of them, my relationship with the school and the teachers. I have had great success with portions of this plan. And in fact, that's what I encourage everyone to do who's going to try a big plan, is just think about all the little plans you have and put them together, because that's really what I did. This is not any rocket science of newness. It's just a different way to think about it and a different way to put things together. Some negatives that we have is we do have a high poverty level. And these are some of the things that the teachers told me, not just me coming up with them. Inadequate parental involvement, budget cuts, when they had to put a whole grade, let's say, into a classroom for COVID because they had to keep the pods together. Then the class sizes increased. And so class sizes increase, learning goes down. It's just how it is. And then one of the interesting things they said that I know that they are looking at and working on right now is they have a really good phonics program called Jolly Phonics in, I believe they do a little bit of it in preschool, and then kindergarten, they hit it really hard. And then in first grade, they don't really have anything that blends into second and third grade cohesively. Of course, they still do phonics. Of course, they're still doing it all the time, but you know, their program itself didn't continue on. And so they know that that's a weakness. So they felt like I would be in the interim before they got that going, sort of a in-between help. And I remember when they told me that 39%, the 2-3 teachers all looked at me and said, Lisa, we need your help. So then you look at all those factors, you can't prioritize them all. So here were my priority factors. I have always believed that the connection between the school and the library is so important. Like if those parents don't know there's another library in town when their school library has old books, or they can't buy enough books, or their books are ready to be thrown away because they're in such bad shape. If they don't know us, that's a problem. So we have to have that connection. We need more parent involvement. We need more parents reading to their kids at night. We need them coming to parent meetings. We need them understanding how to teach their kid to read and why that's so important for their entire life. We also need access to more materials. Why not? Why have a whole library full of books? And before I started doing outreach, a lot of those books just sat there. Now they don't. And I am a private tutor on the side. I have always been a private tutor since a long time ago. And I know how individual help really increases everything when it comes to reading confidence, skill level, everything. So I wanted to incorporate that in my plan if I could. And how do we address this? Why? Why are we doing this? Because if kids and parents see the link between library and school, they are instantly part of a learning community. Teachers talk a lot about learning communities and teaching communities, but the general public out there really doesn't. And that's what we need. We don't need a city who's just a community and a school who's just a community. We need a learning community of everyone together. Also, if parents read to their kids every day in a meaningful way, reading scores will improve. That is a statistical fact. And if kids are given access to more and varied materials, like, sure, the school library is wonderful. Can they get every book they want there? No. Can they get every book they want from me? No. But the more places they have to go, like our wonderful interlibrary loan system as well, it's going to impact their reading. And then one-on-one literacy, as I said, tutoring or just one-on-one time overcomes limitations, fills skill gaps, and brings confidence. All right, number 5 and 6, then I had to decide, all right, I said, well, all of that is my strategy. I'm going to do all of it. It's all my strategy. And they're like, no, Lisa, you're going to have to narrow this down a little bit. Okay, you can't do all of that. So I narrowed it down to my priorities were outreach. And outreach to who? Outreach to school and outreach to parents. So an outreach to school, again, was not a new thing for me. I had been doing it for years and years, although many people in my community have forgotten because I didn't do it during COVID. Did I ever do it at all? Yes, I did. And for many years, and it was always very successful. How do I know it was successful? Did I check those test scores? No. That was the part of this project that I has made me more accountable. However, it's all good. You don't need test scores to know. You need to talk to the parents. You need to talk to the teachers who say, absolutely, you are making a difference in how much they want to read, how they like to read, and you're giving them access to more to read. So you don't have to have the test scores. It's just if you want to report that kind of thing and people are asking for that, then hopefully you can get that relationship with your school to do that. I always have a big library push. Of course, they don't have to have a library card from me, but I would say 90% at least have a library card from me. And then the individual tutoring, I saw it as either virtual or in person. I teach for outschool.com during my spare time, and I do 45-minute sessions on there, and it works perfectly. So I was hoping I could do that as well. Outreach to parents, much harder, and maybe not my greatest strength. We are all librarians. If you are a librarian who has children or has had children of your own, it is a priority. It's just in you to make that a priority. And it is hard to come to that realization that it's not everybody's priority parenting, that there are a lot of different priorities, and that's not always the one. So how do I reach those people that it's not a priority? How do I get them into the library to talk about it? How do I make the parents confident in doing it? And most of all, knowing why it's important. Because I really feel like if parents really know why it's important that their kid reads by the end of 3rd grade, that they would be more diligent about helping it. So some of these things happened, and some of them did not. And I'm going to talk about that. I have had one parent class. I have one yet to go. Only 2 parents showed up to my parent class, and one was a half an hour late. So the parent class it did not happen. And so I need to make another effort at that. We did suspend fines. I am offering free tutoring. And by a snafu of my media person from the Visual Element and Elgin becoming part of my library board, I did not get the media going as much as I would have liked. So I kind of became the custodian of that part of the project as well. So in these webinars and how we learned how to structure this plan, these are the requirements they told us. You must have a change in program, activity, system, and policy. Those are the desired changes we want to make. And so here are the ones that I wanted to implement. The ones with the stars beside them are the new ones that I added in after I started, which ever evolving. The one thing in there, did I take it out? I might have. Oh no, the course via text message became a big snafu. During lockdown, when I was actually at home and not at the library, I created a course that would be given out by text messages. So each day a parent would get a little message about, oh, did you read to your child today? Did you read for 20 minutes? What's an extension activity that you could do with your child based on this book, and things like that. I thought it was amazing. It took me hours and hours to put together, but it was fun. And it was a company called Arist.com. And that company still exists, but now their focus is not just little people like me creating reading programs. They have now marketed apparently to large companies, and I don't even have access to my course that I made anymore. So I do need to work at that and see if I can get it back. But for now, it's lost in the cloud and no one is using it. But it was a very good idea. So if you know some software, I believe that would be a really good tool to reach parents by text message. Anyway, these then are my performance measures. How are we going to measure how well you did with your project? So I had to sort of come up with numbers, which anybody who writes grants or does a budget knows, some of those numbers you can just kind of grab, and some you are sure you can do. And I just put those numbers into this plan. So 9 months of the year, 9 visits. I wanted to have 10 students recommended for tutoring. I haven't actually asked the teachers exactly how many. We kept that confidential. The teachers recommended the students to the parents during parent meetings, and then given my letter of how it would work, then the parent decided and would contact me. So it was a little dumbed down from what I wanted it to be, but I understood that, you know, we have to remain confidential and all of that. So it worked. I didn't get 5 students tutored. I only got 3. But I have 3 2-3 teachers who are all in for all of this. And so all of those other ones, 100% teachers, yes. We haven't done the teacher survey yet, and fast bridge testing has been done in February. I'm going to talk about that. And my goal is that we're going to increase by 11% to be 50% proficient. Okay, so there came the project, and this is the logo that we came up with. I'm very name conscious. I want to have a name for my project. And so what the amazing Amanda at the Visual Element and I came up with was Level Up. She wasn't super happy with this logo because it had to be done really quickly, but I really liked it. It's our Elgin Public Library logo, but with a kind of a gaming theme and focusing on we want scores to go up. And this is a class of 2-3 kids. This is from some time ago, but it's a wonderful picture. And the stars in this picture are our 2-3 teachers. They are the same today. They are amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a group of teachers quite like this that really, really work as a team, and they've been together a long time. They share duty. You know, these kids, as you know, in a small school, the kids move around, they shift classes, and those teachers have to be on top of this. And did they ever say, Lisa, we don't have time for you today. We have too much switching going on. We just can't do it. No, they did not. They find a day for me to come in. I come in with a whole bunch of books that I've loaded in my car on crates. Every kid has a library card. I bring my computer in. They check out the books. I beep them all to them. This year I gave them actual library cards with the Level Up logo, and they check out the books. They can take them home. They return them to me the next time I come back, or to their library, or to my library. And these teachers help me make this work seamlessly. They love it. And do they have to love it? No, it's to me, if I were a teacher, it would be a pain to do this. But they understand how important reading is, and they like that tie between the library and the school very much. So another thing that I sort of, incorporated into the project now to make it get going was I incorporated it into my summer reading program. We all do summer reading. This is why. And it bridges that gap in the summer. So there we had 39% at the end of 2nd grade. What can we do during the summer? My regular project wasn't really going yet, so let's hit it hard in summer reading. And the outcome of that was that I had, this is a town of 684 people. I had over 100 kids registered for summer reading, which was an all-time high for me. I hope that's a low number for you, but it was a really high number for me. So I feel like that worked pretty well. The other thing, and thank you, State Library, for helping me with this. For summer reading, they put out that Canva reading challenge thing that has all the art and everything. I think those are fabulous. And I started using those a couple of years ago and just, modifying them a little bit for my own library. But that sort of caught on in my brain. And now I do a lot of challenges. In fact, the kids get kind of ticked off when I don't have a challenge going now in the library. And so to focus also on 2-3, I have challenges that are just for 2-3. And they think that is super cool. So like these mitten and snowflake ones were just for 2-3, and they fill it in as they read 20 minutes every night, and then they get a brag tag. Now brag tags are super cool if you haven't done those before and you're sick of all the prizes at summer reading. I just got bogged down by them. thought these were more valuable. My kids, when they were young, really loved to collect things. You know, they loved collecting everything. And so these tags are pretty cool. You can collect them, and you can put your logo right on them too, to really bring home that this is the Elgin Public Library's deal too. And the kids, I've done it for 2 or 3 years now, and they still seem to really like it. So I created brag tags just for 2-3 as well, for their challenges, for their, I have one for, is it the first time you visit the library and you're in grade 2-3? Here's a brag tag. And then I also have, of course, candy, which everybody loves. So there's some incentives. The tutoring, I am doing that every Thursday afternoon and evening. I have 45-minute sessions with the identified students. I think it's going very well. And I hope to continue that. I also incorporated my after-school program. There again, not a new idea. Of course, lots of people do after-school programs. I have almost since I've started there. It was always my dream to have an after-school program, and now they get out early every week on Wednesdays, so it fits in perfectly. So I just incorporated a little bit more intense structure to my after-school this year, putting it as a club situation, which I think the kids who come really like that. I had brag tags for every club. And also now, I should have started this earlier, but I just got a 4 or 5 book club started with a few enthusiastic people. And I hope that that expands to 2-3, and that maybe I can have book clubs going on all the time. Another thing that I just came up with my friend Kristen Hulverson the other day was, okay, what can we do for 2-3 book club? Well, she writes books and she self-publishes them, but I feel that they're very high quality. And this one is super interesting about the gorillas, contains a lot of learning elements, glossary and other learning facts. And she is very willing to come and present and help. So I thought, well, what can we do? So I think with some of my grant money, I'm going to purchase paperback copies of this book for all of 2-3. And hopefully we will have time to talk about it. Even if we don't, I think that will sending them with a locally produced picture book that they could take home forever will be not only a great memory of the project for them, but also a great literacy component. And so to wrap up a little bit here were my milestones. We had to have a timeline, and this has worked out really well. My timeline is on track, except for that one parent meeting that I haven't had yet. They have fast tested in February, but they will do it again in April, I understand. So we have even more time for that tutoring to kick in. I feel like we haven't had a whole lot of time yet since we didn't start till November. So that's a good idea and good deal that we can go through April. And here, dun, da, 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 is the results so far. So these are, I just got these the other day. Fast test scored for Valley 3rd graders, 52% are now proficient. So while that might only mean 3 to 4 students, that's 3 to 4 students by February. What did it? Well, everything does it. Is it my project? Of course not entirely my project. It's those teachers. It's if parents are more aware. It's maybe some reading challenges. It's the extra help through title and all of those interventions that the school does as well. It's everything all put together. But it is a good number to look at and makes me feel like we can do this. We can all do this together. And then to wrap up the fellowship part, I spoke at a webinar with, I know Savannah Kitchens very well, to spread the word about how rural librarians and librarians in tiny little places can make a big impact on not only their community, but on themselves and on each other if we all work together. And that's kind of what this fellowship was all about. If you are interested in looking at the Rural Library Network, I encourage you very much to do so. They have wonderful webinars all the time that are very valuable, not only for literacy and reading, but many other things that pertain to librarians and not just rural librarians. So don't feel like you have to be from a tiny town to sign up for this. And all this sign up will do is get some emails in your inboxes about these wonderful webinars. They aren't an obnoxious amount at all. So I would encourage all the libraries here today and all the libraries in Iowa to sign up for this. They are revamping the Rural Library Network our Partners for Education is going to be called something different, but it will go on. I know they are thinking about doing another cohort fellows as well. I have no idea when that will be implemented though. And here is one of the things they drove home to me in this fellowship. And this is a picture of all of us, or most of us, in Arizona. It was a beautiful day, of course. And I'm proud to call all of these people my friends. And what we learned most is that we are anchors of the community. No matter what community you are in, the library is an anchor, and librarians are anchors. And I love this thing from Steve Jobs today, because there's always a lot of people out there. For instance, my city does not always like the things that I do. My library board is super cool, and they fight for me all the time. But the city doesn't quite understand what the money does, even the money that I have earned for them through this fellowship. And so I have to cast that aside, all of that negativity, and say to myself, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. And my library board understands this, that I know what I'm doing, just as all of you know what you're doing. And while we might need guidance and help a lot, we know what we're doing. And especially if we have educated ourselves in an area that we want to excel in. So listen to Steve Jobs. All right, and that's all I have for you today on that. I'm welcoming questions. I would love to get in contact with any of you if you have any questions about the project. Like I said, these things that I did were nothing new, and you're all doing this and much more than I am doing because I'm so small. But think about putting them all together in some new way, and then it becomes something new. So thank you very much for letting me speak on this. It makes me good to spread the word, and I hope you will too.
There we go. Lisa, thank you. That was an amazing presentation. I've been taking notes furiously, and I also have moderated or looking at the chat. There were a couple questions, so I just want to make sure I get to them. Phyllis from Newton, she said, can you provide the definition of rural, and can a town the size of Newton participate in this program?
They wanted libraries of under 10, communities of under 10,000. So I don't know what Newton is, but to sign up for the Rural Library Network, that's just a sign up. So you can still do that and get the webinars, I'm fairly sure. So, but for the fellowship, it was under 10,000. But and I know, like we talk about rural librarians in Iowa all the time, like, yeah, that's really rural. The little ones like us who go, yeah, that's not. I am in the middle of nowhere. Like I am 90 minutes from Waterloo, and that's my biggest city. Okay.
Oh wow.
So I'm rural, but under 10,000 is considered rural. So yeah, don't be shy about that. And this wasn't meant just for little people.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then Cindy had mentioned with the tutoring, do you do the tutoring on your own time, or is that part of a library program?
That became an interesting thing too with the money. So it's like a grant money that I got. And I asked them right away, is this money, can it pay me? Because there are as you all know, there's so many grants out there that won't pay for people, which is just the worst thing in the world. Whoever thought of coming up with a grant that doesn't pay people is not really thinking. Because for librarians, the program is the people. Like you can't have a program. I'm doing everything for this program and because that's the only choice. And so I asked them, can this money pay me? And they said, yes, it'll pay anything you want it to, Lisa. You make this and it'll pay anything you want. Well, you get that money into the city and it doesn't always start looking like that. But it does pay me. I have a separate tally that I keep track of for the city for these tutoring hours. So I do it at the library during library hours, but they say that they are taking that salary money out of a different pool. I feel like anyone else would not have that restriction. And so I would feel like if you got a grant for tutoring hours and it said it would pay salaries, that you could do this. So no, I don't do it on my own time. I do it on library time, but the grant did pay for that. There were many years ago that I also got another grant from just a company that I started a tutoring program for, and I did it myself, but then I hired other tutors and we just cut them a check. That was a long time ago. Things like that don't usually happen now, but that was a different way to do it too.
Gotcha. Thank you. Peg mentioned, what does a tutoring session look like?
Tutoring session for me looks like, oh, that's an interesting question. Lots of little exercises in reading that are short. I also long ago worked for Sylvan Learning Centers, and that was kind of their MO, like don't make the kid read a whole book or don't make them read a whole page even. Little short exercises, and it really is individualized. Like even these spree kids that I'm doing, it's individualized to them. If they have trouble with vowel pairs, I do vowel pairs. If they have trouble with word endings, I work on word endings. If they just need confidence, then we read picture books together. We do games and exercises and talk to each other. And that's kind of how it's done. 45 minutes seems to be really good time. Half an hour seems a little short and an hour seems a little long. So.
And talk about, if you could, have you seen a lot of parents coming into the library as a result of you going out and doing the outreach in the classrooms? Have you seen more parents or more kids bringing their parents and like, we gotta go to the library, come to the library?
Yes. Have I seen 1,000 new parents in? No. But have I seen more? Absolutely. When I went, I didn't visit school last year just because of my pandemic fear still. But I did go in and promote summer reading. So I went into all the classes, but especially a big push in 2-3 about attending summer reading and how great it is. And I had many new students with their parents, and they had their little bookmark that I gave them about all the programs. And I would say, oh yes, here, sign up, and here are the bookmarks. Oh, they gave us that bookmark as soon as you came in the classroom, you know. So yes, and even during the year now, you know, the tutoring brings those parents in, even if those kids were dropped off or on the bus to come to the library, the parents didn't come, but now they do. And other kids who like the reading challenges because they get an extra prize if they come and drop their challenge at the library. So yes, it hasn't been a huge influx, but it's definitely made a difference.
Excellent, thank you. Kayla says, I would love to share your presentation with our district. Would you be willing to share your slides that I could pass on? She left her email information as well.
Yeah, as I was talking to Janae and Samantha about that. As a presenter, I get kind of territorial about my slides, but these I feel are not. There's the one picture of the kids that I want to take out, so I will get that ready, and I'll. Should I send it on to you, Janae, or do you want me to share it directly with people?
Fine, that's fine, absolutely. Or with me, that's fine too.
Okay, so they'll push it out for me, and yes.
And can you provide your email contact in the chat so if anybody has any questions, that way they can email you directly as well?
Sure. So here's my library.
And I'm looking at the comments now. Everyone is saying, thank you, wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. It's phenomenal that you're all here, and I'm so glad. If anybody wants my business one or my personal one, or this or other things, whatever, there's another Gmail that I use for that.
They are just showering you with thank yous, a lot of thank yous. This was fantastic.
I'll give you my kid wave.
This was
at the beginning of tutoring at the end.
Oh, and you said you were having a book club for 4th and 5th grades too? How's that going? How's that coming along?
We just started, but I had a couple kids that just kept every week at clubs. They go, "Are we going to start that book club, Lisa? When are we doing that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." So I got copies of Beyond the Bright Sea. I love Lauren Wolk. I teach Wolf Hollow all the time too. And so I'm really excited. I only have 4 signed up, like I said, but I'm hoping it will catch on. 4 will be good. And they, we're all really, we just met for the first time last week, and they were really thrilled. So.
Excellent. And does anyone else have any questions or any comments? I'm just reading these comments right now. They said, I love your limber librarians.
Well, thank you. Keep exercising.
Sam, did you want to add anything as well?
I do not. I am just always amazed at what folks in small towns can do, and you kind of hinted that at the sort of negotiating you do with your city, and I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because I know a lot of folks will identify with how hard it can be to navigate politics on something that just feels like so obviously important. So keep
My
it
advice
up
there
and hang
is,
in
like,
there.
I get too personal. Like, this project's very personal. It's my whole life, and you can't let it do that. You have to back away a little bit when it comes to all that negativity.
And eliminating fines for kids.
Yeah. Well, hang in there, and also a word of encouragement to others who are struggling with the powers that be and their impressions of, like, well, shouldn't people just find their own way to the library and check out books for themselves, and why are we doing all this extra stuff? But Janae, in closing, do you want to share about what's next for PopYS Live, what we have coming up next?
Yes. Let me see. I think I shared a slide with you.
Do you want me to pull that up?
Yeah.
Sure. Hang on, because I filed it away in my email catalog. So we have coming up in March, I'm super excited, and I've got the link here. I will drop it in the chat. We have a presentation from a librarian in Wisconsin all about
Dynamite Dozen.
The Dynamite Dozen, programming for teens. Are you seeing this slide here now?
Yes.
All right. So Kathy Pisinski from the Shawano County Library in Wisconsin originally presented this for the Wisconsin Library Association, and they liked it so much that they recruited it for the the Association of Small and Rural Libraries ARSL conference. And I heard so many good things about it after ARSL that I thought we need to get this out for Iowa too. So I just put the registration link in the chat. We'd love to have many of you guys coming to that. And Janae will not be at that one, because where will you be, Janae?
I will be on the road presenting the STEM fairs and the summer reading summits all throughout March. So yes, I will be on the road during the presentation, but she has 50 programs for teens and tweens that you can have assembled at the drop of a hat, especially during a snow day, or if you have an influx of teens and tweens that come in at the last minute and you don't know what to do. Yeah. She will show you programs that you can have ready to go.
So I put the link to the STEM Fair Summer Reading Summit events in the chat as well. Those STEM fairs are all pretty much full. So I think there's a seat or two left in one or two of them. So register if you see one that works for your schedule and your location. Otherwise, stay tuned, because it's been such a popular event. I'm sure we'll do it again sooner rather than later. And then the other event you want to promote, Janae, is Check It Out. Is that right?
Yes, the Check It Out Book Talk series is Tuesday, February 28th from 11 to noon. We will go over the best books that are out there for youth ages 0 to 18, and including storytime standouts. What do I mean by storytime standouts? Those are the books that we like to use for story times. So excellent. Check it out.
Check it out, indeed. So I put those links in the chat as well. So many thanks to Lisa for presenting, and of course for all your hard work with the elementary schoolers in your town and area, and what a great program. And thanks to all of you for attending, to Janae for hosting. Register for the next event and let us know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. That was awesome.